Namaskar and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, show on India's national broadcaster Doordarshan about Indian foreign policy, India's international relations, and India's engagements with countries small and big, far and near, that have an impact on global good. Viewers, this episode is focused on a country which is India's very close maritime neighbor, just 750 kilometers away from India's coast, in the heart of the Indian Ocean. This is the archipelago of the Maldives. Maldives-India relations have undergone a major reset in a positive direction. So what is the driving forces behind this turnaround with Maldives and India? And also, what is the broader significance of India's engagement with small island nations like the Maldives? These are some of the themes we're going to be discussing in this episode. And to take us through this, I am very privileged to introduce you to a very esteemed former diplomat and scholar who's joining me in the studio, Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia.
Namaskar.
Ambassador Bhatia was India's ambassador to Myanmar and Mexico and High Commissioner to South Africa and Kenya, has written a lot on India's engagement with the world, different parts. He used to also be in the division in the Ministry of External Affairs handling the Maldives. So Ambassador Bhatia, greatly honored to have you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be part of your second century.
Ambassador Bhatia, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Maldives recently, it was a grand success, and just the visuals, the respect and the honor accorded to him, is just really heartwarming for us, given the backdrop of what had transpired between the two countries just 1.5 years ago. So this big turnaround, everybody is talking about it. One of the phrases that caught my attention was our Foreign Secretary saying that we have paid attention to the Maldives at the very highest levels, and that is the key, reason why we've been able to mend, ties and actually bring them back, not just back on track, but now they are, galloping. So to start with, why has India paid so much high-level attention?
Thank you very much. It is something that I can speak on the basis of both personal experience and one's knowledge and dealings with that country once upon a time. As we know, Maldives is one of the smallest of our neighbors. It is perhaps the smallest country in Asia. It's a country with a population of only 500,000 people. It's a country which has very small national income or GDP. So in view of that, your question makes a lot of sense, as to why Maldives is important to us. And here I can really refer very briefly three reasons to justify this interest. First of all, the geostrategic importance of Maldives, that is immense. It is sitting on the crossing of important sea lanes in the Indian Ocean. And therefore, both from the viewpoint of commerce and from the viewpoint of maritime security, Maldives is very, very important to us. Secondly, India is completely committed to the neighborhood first policy, and there clearly Maldives ranks very high in terms of importance. If we want this policy to succeed, we have to make sure that India-Maldives relations move in a positive, desired direction. And third reason, here is a small island state, a very typical example of a member of Global South. And so, given our importance to the Global South and the leadership ambitions that we have, it's important that we get this relationship right.
Absolutely, yeah. So those sum up the reasons why India has taken the Maldives so seriously. One of the concrete takeaways of Prime Minister Modi's historic state visit to the Maldives was announcement of a new line of credit worth around $550 million US. And we have also reduced the Maldives debt repayment obligations by additional 40% for the previous lines of credit. So obviously, President Muzu, in fact, said that India has been instrumental and pivotal for managing our liquidity problems and for our developmental needs, for our infrastructural needs, all these things. He has profoundly praised India. So the question is, how significant is this developmental and financial diplomacy that we are doing with the Maldives? And in what way is this different from, say, the Chinese loans? Because the Maldives has been almost sank under the Chinese debt trap, and but so we are giving loans in our own methods, and the Chinese also give loans. So it will be useful for our audience to understand what is the qualitative and quantitative difference between these two models.
So let us first attack the first aspect of the question, and then we can come to China. The moment it becomes clear that Maldives is a small country with a small GDP, and it's a country which is very difficult to govern and administer, because it is an island. It's a collection of 1,200 islands, which are divided into 26 atolls. So in terms of connectivity, transportation, taking education, medical and other services to all over the country is a Herculean task with very limited budget. And therefore what comes out clearly is that this country needs external help. It can get help from wherever it can, but clearly if it comes from a country like India, then it is obviously very welcome to them. And this is the reason why one of the central things about India-Maldives relations is our multi-dimensional development partnership. This is focused not just on infrastructure development, not just on roads and sewage system, and also very much on other things like schools and hospitals and small impact community development projects. It also takes care of the human resource and capacity development requirements of the country. Talking about the difference between another country such as China, I think we can say very clearly that India's approach is very, very consultative. We do not impose our aid or ideas on a recipient country, much less on Maldives. And we have very clearly seen that whenever there are consultations and conversations, our people always ask Maldives as to what you really need. And then in terms of the terms for payment, etc., they are probably quite acceptable from the viewpoint of the recipient country. We saw this year, particularly on this occasion, that when Maldives was not in a position to repay the earlier debts, the terms were revised. Chinese do not like to do this most of the time. So fundamentally, it's an inclusive, consultative, and very competitive way. It is not so much the quantity of aid, but the quality of aid that India provides, which is most welcome in Maldives.
Right, absolutely. I think, and that's why I think the perception was that, there are some pro-India forces, anti-India forces, but now I think after the latest the bailouts and all the assistance we have given, I think everybody realized there across partisan lines exactly what you said, which is that, India is a different type of, big state that is coming in there, and quite distinguishable from China. Now, the other thing that struck me, Ambassador Bhatia, during Prime Minister Modi's Maldives visit was the inauguration of the new Defense Ministry building. And we also gave large military vehicles for their armed forces. And we are ramping up the security partnership with the naval exercises, trainings of their officials and all these things. And this seems to me like something that ties to your original point about the geostrategic importance of the Maldives, right? And so it will be helpful to know what are, the security concerns of the Maldives itself and of the region in which it is located. And is it fair to say that we are warding off Chinese expansionism there? Because earlier there was a talk about China providing military assistance and security assistance to the Maldives, and there were these spy ships and in the name of research vessels that were being sent there. and China has a two-ocean strategy, which apart from the Pacific includes the Indian Ocean, where they want to displace India's leadership. So is it fair to say that we are warding off the Chinese expansionism through stronger defense cooperation with the Maldives? And also people talk about the Islamist radicalism and the threat, because a lot of young Maldivians had been lured to go and fight in Syria and for ISIS and all that, So there also, it seems like that's more like a non-conventional security area. In both these domains, the conventional, which is the Chinese, and then unconventional, which is the Pakistani, you think we are, making these steps to push back these two adversaries of ours, or would you see this defense cooperation differently?
Very interesting and complex question. Let me attempt an answer, and I would like to say that this can be viewed in three different segments. First of all, purely in bilateral terms. As I explained, there are serious budgetary limitations for Maldives, and as a result, if they really want an effective force to look after their own internal security and their own external security, they need help. They need help in terms of equipment, in terms of training, in terms of interaction with a major power such as India. So this is happening, and you yourself very rightly pointed out, I've been to some of their facilities. They were, talking respectfully, rather inadequate. So this new building for the Ministry of Defense, which demonstrated a gigantic photograph of our Prime Minister, which was a signal to India's friendship. This was something very significant. So bilaterally, India has helped considerably their security forces from all possible angles, and that's why they feel very grateful. Secondly, talking directly about this China question, I think Maldives understanding India's security sensitivities is one of the central foundations of this relationship. I think it has been conveyed and it has been accepted by Maldives, and Maldives has assured India that our security interests will be protected and they will not be compromised. This has to be seen in the context of the unfolding geopolitical rivalry and competition between India and China. You are absolutely right in talking about all kinds of vessels coming in, etc., from foreign powers into their waters, etc. And so that has to be taken care of. And I think the closer we get to Maldives in the economic and developmental and people-to-people relationship, the greater sensitivity they would show with regard to our security concerns. And the third segment, very quickly, is the regional angle. And this is where I wanted to highlight the importance of Colombo Security Conclave, of which India, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Mauritius are members. Seychelles is an observer. Here you have very important traditional and non-traditional challenges that these countries face, ranging from cyber security to terrorism, radicalization that you referred yourself, and also let's not forget international crime and trafficking, etc. So these are phenomena happening around Maldives, which it is not in a position to tackle all by itself. And so we work together on the basis of a sub-region and try to secure common goals.
In fact, Prime Minister also mentioned, Ambassador Bhatia, the Mahasagar vision, mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. He had floated that in Mauritius, and it also applies to the Maldives. Now, under this Mahasagar vision, it looks like India is convening all these neighbors, including the Maldives, to shape the region and its security dynamics in a way that is not only favorable to us, but also beneficial to them, because they are small and they are subject to predatory behavior by bigger countries and outside powers. So, would you say that we have now, Maldives is like an anchor for this Mahasagar vision, and would you say that we are now developing that kind of a broader regional framework which goes beyond just bilateral and creates these security communities?
No, I agree with you. I think the regionalization of security concerns and the approach how to address them is very much an integral part of the this doctrine that you have mentioned. It is very much work in progress, but clearly it is an elevation of the previous idea, which also Prime Minister Modi had presented some 10 years back, which was the Sagar doctrine.
Yeah.
From Sagar to Mahasagar is clearly an indication that India's approach has become wider and more long-term. But we need to work with countries, each individual country, and in the context of the sub-regional groupings as well. And it seems to me that this is also a way for India to say that, look, regional powers, the powers of this region, have to ultimately take responsibility for their own security.
Absolutely. In fact, talking of long term, you hit the nail on the head about this architecture building. And one of the things that struck me, Ambassador Bhatia, is the similarities between the Maldives and Sri Lanka and Nepal. All three small neighbors. And frequently, whenever they have like internal political churning, new parties come in, or new ideological forces are on the ascendance, then you see some kind of volatility or fluctuations in their foreign policies. Sometimes they are described as pro-India, sometimes as pro-China, and so on. So India seems to be finding ways by which it can sustain its influence irrespective of these domestic political shifts in these countries. And of course, there are bigger tests like Afghanistan, where there have been regime change for the last 4 years, Bangladesh, where there's been a regime change for the last 1 year, where we'll have to see whether we can also claw our way back in such relatively bigger countries. But still, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Nepal, these three, our financial assistance, also our more mature and patient way of handling these countries seems to have won over even the so-called anti-India forces, who are now sobered down and are saying, okay, India is indispensable. So for us to remain indispensable in South Asia with our neighbors, we're already adopting this proactive approach, which we're seeing, for example, in the Maldives and Nepal and Sri Lanka. What more you think we need to do to be omnipresent and always wanted and liked, irrespective of what happens in the internal affairs of these countries?
I think this is a very thoughtful question. We stop growing if we think we have achieved everything today. So there are things that can be done, and I would like to say that the government is already doing a lot in context of trying to improve and strengthen the relationship with South Asian neighbors. The Prime Minister, particularly this Prime Minister, is in the field of foreign policy and diplomacy our trump card. That trump card needs to be used wisely and sparingly, which means that other stakeholders have to come forward and play their role. So I would like to, for example, raise the question, when such a big development was happening, Prime Minister's state visit to Maldives, how many of the business chambers in this country and how many think tanks in this country, they held pre-visit conferences and seminars? Probably very few. This huge country, how many real domain experts on Maldives do we have? Very few. Yes, media, we are grateful to them because at least around the prime ministerial visits, they pay attention to smaller neighbors. But should we not do it on a much more sustainable, regular manner? How many of us really have studied the history, the sociology, the environmental concerns, etc. Of a country like Maldives? So I would say that greater engagement by the important role players in India is essential. And the other point, I would entirely agree with you, Professor Chaulia, which is that our engagement with the population and the political parties and the entire establishment of a country like Maldives and Sri Lanka, it has to be across the board. For us, there is fundamentally no anti-India or pro-India element, barring probably a very microscopic minority of radicals, we should be ready to talk and cultivate everybody if he or that particular part of the community is willing to cooperate. That will really help strengthening our South Asia policy. And very final quick point, I do not agree respectfully with those scholars who claim that South Asia is dead. South Asia is and will remain very relevant to India's foreign policy.
Yeah, so individual countries are part of a larger whole, right? I mean, if we bifurcate one from the other, then there is no, regional gain to be made in terms of our, one-off policies to this side, to this country or that country. So point well taken. Ambassador Bhatia, people to people, this is something also, I would like your reflections on this. We spoke about economic and financial and trade and developmental diplomacy. We spoke about defense diplomacy. We spoke about, regional architecture. The only missing point element here is people to people. And here it looks like we have really pressed the accelerator on tourism, sports, culture, healthcare, these kind of things which really matter to ordinary people. Agriculture, fisheries in the Maldives, these are the main sectors of the economy. And we also have a diaspora there, which is not very large, but we saw them coming out enthusiastically during Prime Minister Modi's, I think around 29 to 30,000 only. But proportionally to the population, it's not so small. So these elements, how well are we able to marshal them?
I'm really interested in what President Moizu said on this subject in his public utterances during Prime Minister Modi's visit. He talked about hundreds of Maldivians going to India or coming to India for medical treatment.
Yeah. Every day. He said every day.
Yeah. You would know that there are hundreds of Maldivian students studying here. I'm sure some at your university as well. And certainly we all know that a huge amount of tourists from India go there. We used to be number one. We probably are still one of the top sources of destinations, top 5. There is some coverage on a regular basis by Indian media of Maldivian affairs as well. I think this is still small. There is absolutely no reason why all these exchanges cannot be expanded further. And the important thing is that we should not allow the momentum created by Prime Minister's visit to be lost. We should not wait for the next crisis or the next visit or next some big happening, before we'll think of the big things. And one more thing, I think our think tanks and our media need to ensure an ample coverage of Maldives' foreign relations vis-a-vis the West, China, Japan, and the rest of them on a regular basis. It is important for Indian citizenry to know how Maldives is emerging as a South Asian player in the world today.
Right. Ambassador Bhatia, last word. Misinformation, I mean, this has been a problem, especially when there seem to be rough patches in relations with small neighbors like the Maldives. And then, it multiplies over social media, and then suddenly it whips up a lot of frenzy and anger. People are saying we are going to boycott, tourism. But ultimately, the state has played a much more mature and sober hand here. And they never encourage these kind of so-called vigilante actions, So how can we check that side? I mean, I was privileged on this show. You'll be happy to know we hosted a large number of Maldivian media, social media influencers and journalists, talking
Wonderful.
about the people-to-people ties. So and they were very clear that, we have to fight the misinformation. And from their side, there are a lot of people who see the benefits that India brings, and whose eyes are wide open and who are not inclined to fall for the clickbait of these sensational claims. But still, even on our side, there are some who had, put out negative coverage of the Maldives, right, when things were not going well. How can we create a more empathetic understanding of our neighbors on both sides on the matter of information?
No, this is once again a very stimulating question. To some degree, the kind of baser reaction that you referred, are inevitable. We are a democracy and we cannot tell people as to how they're going to react if they find their country is being criticized or attacked unfairly. You know, what was the problem is something that we really need to recall. It was a question of Maldives asking for the withdrawal of 75 to 80 soldiers. In a way, it was their right. If they said, we don't want them, obviously we had to take them back. But the manner in which this request was presented and pushed, that, you know, was obviously irksome to many people in this country. And yet, I agree with you completely. The government showed a terrific blend of patience and a constructive attitude and imagination, which finally led to the reset as well. So I would say that we have to be patient and polite and respectful to the citizens of Maldives. When we go there as tourists, we have to be respectful. When they come, we also should be able to be attentive to them and be nice to them. And I think our people, and as I said, our think tanks, media, business houses, they simply need to pay much higher attention to Maldives, and not just when Prime Minister Modi visits there.
Absolutely. So this is, you know, continuous, like a gardening. Viewers, Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia is saying, you know, these relationships are sensitive. Small countries, because the huge asymmetry with India, can easily get upset very quickly, and then can give color to our intentions and can try and misrepresent what's happening from the Indian side. But at the same time, we have to also exercise maturity and sobriety on our part and not jump the gun and try to, you know, dictate terms or to bully any country. And so that's very clear that this is the approach of the Narendra Modi government is soft, tread softly and bring everyone into confidence and give them the respect. The small countries deserve respect. I want to remind our viewers, Prime Minister Modi has said, we don't treat these small island countries as small. These are actually large ocean countries. So the Maldives is a large ocean country and it deserves the respect, and we are doing that now, and that's why they are giving back the respect. So it's very important that this is a mutually felt bonhomie, and that we curb some of our own instincts when things go bad and play the patient long game. And that's what India is doing. And the world is now seeing how we can turn around a so-called lost cause of India out into a red carpet for India. Let me thank Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia. Sir, you have served the country with distinction. You are a distinguished fellow at the Gateway House, an important think tank of the country. And we value the writings and your wisdom over the years. And we request you to keep doing this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Viewers, the Maldives and India are back on track, and the relationship is now treading new horizons. We are going where we have not gone before. The scaling up of all elements of cooperation is something that should give a lot of hope for the future of the Maldives. And India will remain engaged not just with the Maldives but with the broader region, because now we have that broader regional vision to forge a unified and integrated region that benefit from India's rise. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time. Until then, take care.